Now let's check this out. We're gonna get into intent. Now we're gonna break down. Now there's a few intents we're gonna specifically get into. You know, intent for your goals and the right way to structure it and to have it. So you stop manifesting other bullshit that you didn't intend to accumulate in your motherfucking life. So there's gonna be intent on goals, right? There's gonna be a creative intent, the intent and purpose you're supposed to have behind anytime you're directing energy towards your creative abilities. And we're going to break down also intent behind having children. So children could be your business and your gift, and then that can manifest actually as you being with the right partner to actually have children with, that you're not manifesting demon children. As such, you might be a demon child that just became an adult right now. Once upon a time, Hitler was a baby. So you gotta wait. You gotta wait. For you get biased. Listen for a little bit. I'm saying y'all getting y'all biases, and a lot of y'all be just as flunked out as any other human. Part of my soul group, you ain't human. So it ain't what you do, it's how you motherfucking do it. All right, now let's get into this motherfucking shit. Because I'm slipping away from points and shit. All right, now look. Now let me break down to get your mind structured as what's an intent in the first place. Now, an intent, anytime we use the word in, that's why I say believe everything, but don't believe in nothing. Because a spirit, you want to make sure you're not biased, aka trapping yourself in any form, and that might outweigh itself, and then you end up developing a mental crutch within that form and need it. And when it start to outdate, you will fucking become a spirit that's purposeless, or suicidal. So be careful. But for the most part, intent is anytime you can put a tent, aka encapsulate something that's inside of you. And as a spirit, if you understand you ain't the mind, you can have the truest knowledge of this. Because you know what you are encapsulating is your inner sons, your inner chakras, your inner mentalities. So based upon you knowing that you're not these things, you're able to be in a perspective of outside in at certain times where you're able to have control of these things, actually make up your mind. So when you're the one who make up your mind, you're not in no vulnerable position where someone to make up your mind for you, or the environment, or the shadow government, or the natural selection, and based upon the environment how it's correlated, your desires and your body will do things for you, and then you will be spiritually in a sunken place. And be like, did I do that? Like you, Steve Urkel. And then you have to be like, damn, that wasn't myself. You know why your spirit said that for a reason. You was in a sunken place. Another spirit took over. You let the external environment take over. So for the most part, now when you have intent, you're able to put a tent over these things yourself. Don't let some external representation force you to have a validation. So for the most part, now that inner thing that you put a tent over, right, is basically these terms making up your mind. So you want to be the one that make up your mind. Now, when you have good intentions, what you're making up your mind on is things that go in your favor. If you're in this energy of non-bias and doing things for God, you're able to use yourself as a bitch and not the environment. When you're trying to use the environment and people, you're not as talented or gifted as you think, and your gift and talent is going to come from shaking hands with the devil, creating logic and manipulating energies to get your way where it's shared values, and you have to find your way to get it from other or the environment or proving in some way. And that's a long hill battle, and you having to make your bed and land it, even if you become minorly successful. So be careful of that also. When you're using yourself as a bitch, you're using your own gifts and talents, and that's how you're going to receive interest. And therefore, you receive other individuals that like to be used, and you're going to have a position that they can use you in some way as a teamwork makes the dream work to make that whole allegory be more prosperity for all of y'all in some way, shape, or form. So that's when you're doing things for God. And minor sacrifice and energy is going to be within that also. You can't just be having knowledge or gifts and talents and just think you could just use it for yourself. It doesn't work that way. Now, once you have that bias out the way, because you got to go through mad shadow work. A lot of times you won't even reach that attribute if you don't start to practice this and start to express yourself and go through experiences and rejection and opposition and successful things, so you can start to know what to adjust and what to start to let go to reach this conclusion that I just broke down. Now, once you start to get into intent, now you're starting to know. Now you got a correspondence and a starting point on what's good intent and what's bad intent. Good intent, using yourself. Bad intent, having to use others. The lines blur a lot of times. Every now and then we get confused, and when we express ourselves, we manifest a situation to teach us how to adjust. Because whatever response we get from the person, place, or thing that we're interacting with once we start to express ourselves, it's going to let us know what polarized shift we're on. So don't be scared of rejection, because this is the only way that you're going to know what's your capabilities and incapabilities to tap you into the astronomy concept of it, of the South Node and the North Node. To know where you're going, you have to know where you're coming from. All right. Now, once you get that out the way in this motherfucking shit, right? This puts you in a situation where now you understand the starting point of having a good intent or a bad intent. And now that you know it's going to be situations where the lines may be blurred, where it may be times you have to use others, but you use yourself. That's going to be the times you feel alone. Then there may be times you have to use yourself, but you end up using others. That's going to be the time that you feel like you're going to manifest others for people to look at you like you are a user, even when you don't think you're coming across that way, because you're unaware of what spiritual space you're in at the moment due to lack of shadow work during that particular time. Now, once you go through all this mental gymnastics, all this mental kung fu-ness, all this shadow work, all this meditation, when you're cutting off certain thoughts that lead you into those scenarios again, so you can start to be more pure as a spirit, that God can really use you as a sufficient golem. You know what I'm saying? Breathing life into sand. Anytime you hear about breathing life into sand, or God's making things out of clay, remember, the book is about our first body, the mind. So we're talking about the fire, water, air, and earth elemental concepts. So breathing air is you as a spirit becoming logically aware of the earth that you're forming, aka your charismatic gifts, your character. So you're giving your golem life. So based upon me, Flight Boss, air, I'm giving that golem that Uriel created life. So how you can see representations of how when you actually do things in existence, you can point to how it works, where other people get La La Land and how magic worked because the shadow government made Harry Potter and shit. You can explain it to people. The power work as in when it gets received into the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension, I could develop thoughts and feelings and actions on other things flights and shit could be attached to. And you can also. Because if I presented it and then you could receive it and then you could have images in your head of other possibilities where that could be. Like, for an example, oh, that could be a toy. Oh, that could be a comic book. Oh, that, you see what I'm saying? It's life. Because I made it powerful enough that the light I created could be aware by other spirits that could create light, and I could give it more sparks. It don't have to stay stuck in one energy that could transmute here the way the shadow government got us focused on one energy. I can transmute it in other different ways. So when one energy get old and outdated, I'm able to jump into another form and let that one die, let go, let that one fall. I'm the master of patterns, Uriel. But when I teach y'all that, this help y'all understand how you can let go, but be in an energy of feeling like you're never letting go something, because you always got another form to jump into that represent the same space that you never want to leave. And therefore, this is how you do real spirit wizardry, not the Luciferian one that's a group of spirits that y'all following now have copied from me and Raphael to this true North catacorn version where you're technically upholding the same thing that you don't want to fall, but you keep re-healing it. Energy can't be created or destroyed, so you keep trying to keep the same energy that you don't want to fall, so you keep healing it, creating compromises, things that compromise your spiritual and physical immune system, medicals, and living forever concept that heal. That's Raphael. So they stay somewhere in between, going all the way to the west where I'm at, and stand truly all the way to true north where Raphael at, and stand between and call it some flunked out ass shit true, aka take the T off. You 180-degree angle, that's west, that's still Uriel, but true north, Raphael. Y'all said north, the R in north, the Raph. So it's all witchcraft and spell, but it take an angel to teach y'all this. But you know this already. So I ain't teach you nothing. I only reminded you what you already know. Bringing the old to the new. This is the purple world. We're blending in the worlds right now. The esoteric version of Libra, Scorpio, and Sag. It ain't got nothing to do with them constellations and y'all signs or nothing like that. This is a spiritual thing when you understand it from this perspective. Like when I get y'all minds in this arena, y'all gonna be hearing me say I love Jesus, God, all these names, all this shit. But when your mind get there to know where we're at in the spiritual world, we gonna be transmuting, we gonna be doing we gonna be doing shit for the real God, all kind of shit. I can't wait till we get there. And then once we leave that area, where we might not even be saying like communicating outwardly when we're connecting. Like when we're connected like this, we may have a whole nother vibratory body language that we connect with. And that's how we become the true occult. And then when we do start to speak just for leisure and shit like that, and after we chop they shit, the shadow government gonna be dying to copy us. They ain't gonna know what's going on. I can't wait till we get there. I've been doing this for eons though, but this is always my plan. It's always the best one. I've been doing this for motherfucking eons, you know what I'm saying? But that's God. I don't like going with the devil. I like going with God. The devil is just all the spirits that create that big old cloud and other spirits that be aware for the first time to be born here. And shit like that. And they cling to their desires and they want to be seen as God. And they want to be, that's why the devil run this world. Lucifer run this world. So when you got to look at it in the esoteric context, what run this world? Logic, intellect, your desires. You get into things and logic based on your desires, but you lie to yourself and think that the thing you got into is the truth and it don't have anything to do with your desire, but you're actually clinging on to the thing you got into logically to get you out of this flunked out desire. So that's what run the world, Lucifer. And the shadow government that own a lot of those intellectual properties, they are Luciferians on earth. But their demon, they call it God. And you can't say it ain't because you follow they shit. And you can't tell them that they're devils of whatever that they're doing, because whatever that they're doing is still allowing them to run the world. So we can say that they're devils all they want. In their mind, they don't think. In their mind, they think that it's really their God. It's really the true God. You have to look at it like that. Because y'all be so lost in their shit, you use their shit against them. And this is what makes you the Satan. You be like, they're Lucifers. Why they don't know they're Satan? And then in the very next breath, you say they need Jesus Christ. They need Muhammad. That's their shit. Don't you understand? Like, they don't get it. That's their witchcraft. That's why they're in the position. Because they made you think that way. Let's get into this shit. Right? Because I'm just structuring your mind on intent. We're going to get into specific intents. So intent is basically creating a golem. Now, when you create a golem, this is a character that you may not have at the moment for yourself, but you wish to have. You wish to have that in your life. So it'll manifest, and a person will play those characteristic traits or a place or thing, or maybe you would develop those characteristic traits, but you have to harness on that and attract enough spirits inside of that form, like Solomon's sealing for a while, because the seal is the feel. Idea, problem, solution, conclusion, then next is the feeling. That's the seal. And if you could create a sigil around the idea, problem, solution, the triangle, then the conclusion, the square, opening up the triangle, then feeling come next, the circle around it. And then for the most part, you're able to understand the inner workings of that circle from starting from the opposite end of it. You know what I'm saying? Instead of from the inside out, you're starting from the outside in, squaring out the circle to understand the circle, the seal itself. So you're able to draw out, just like my seal, the Uriel seal. You know what I'm saying? And the seal representation and things of that nature, you're able to attract spirits that's in that same space to help you with the creation you made in that space, the creature you made in that space, the chakra, the energy, the spaceship. And if it's in a heavenly space, you're going to be able to bring that heavenly knowledge down here on earth and have that intellect and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? You'll be a walking version of a Google, like how people be calling me in my real life and shit like that. So for the most part, then once you have that circumstance and shit like that, right, this help you understand a seal. Now, the shadow government got y'all on seals based upon certain fields of realities y'all be in. Quantum field, someone else's intellectual property. So once you're in that field of reality, these feelings you be experiencing as a spirit, observing, if you get trapped into thinking you are these light forms, then you start to think that you whatever that these thought forms are meant to be and the outcomes is going to lead to. And the shadow government then created heaven concepts, mental concepts to keep y'all docile and shit like that. And as a spirit, it took you to believe it. It took you to be aware of it. It took you to come to the conclusion to agree to them terms and conditions. So this is what makes you a weak spirit when you agree to what demons be trying to give you. Thank you so much for the donation, rah rah. Now, other than that, like I said, it is motherfucking shit, right? Now, let's say specific goals, intent, and things of that nature, right? Now, when we start to talk about goals, and you're directing energy towards goals. Now, these are the intent that you need to have behind goals, because a lot of y'all goals automatically are filtered through the starting basis of survival and fear. Fear not to have the things what's expected from you in order for you to appear normal in their reality right now in the shadow government. And survival, the things that they force you to be in a position where you're willing to do extreme things for a piece of change to obtain these things. You see what I'm saying? So that's us being in survival mode. So a lot of times our goals starting point is very fucked up, and they erupt in us being in competition, haters, or dog eat dog world business wise, or able to step on other people's toes, even if we grew up and are friends with a lot of individuals and things of that nature, due to the fact of the holy dollar, a slice of the American Japanese pie or England pie, and things of that nature. So keep that in mind. So we have to be careful that we do enough shadow work to the point that we're even willing to manifest satisfaction energy, even if it's satisfaction that's not in our favor. But we're willing to put ourselves into a position where it's like, okay, if we're not willing to do it in God's way and we're not accumulating, then it's not meant. And God always going to put you in a position where it still accumulate, but you have to reach those moments. Thank you so much for the donation, Nina Serralo. I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. So I will like you to do this. Create a seal or a word that represent a thought and feeling that you don't necessarily have to always understand a whole paragraph for you to know what you're doing spiritually, because it's like cursive once it's at that point, and you could curse yourself and start to do these things negatively for wrong purposes at times. So you should make up a word or something like that. Like I be making a word, Anakanakova, all kind of shit. But make up words that represent a thought and feeling. Or make up an action you can do to represent that thought and feeling, so you could be in a position where you could always go back to it without having to go through a situation of seconds and minutes and long pandering and rendering and to yourself of a paragraph to help you adjust yourself again. That one word would represent that whole paragraph in action, right? So within this paragraph right here, with good intent towards your goals, always make sure the ground basis of your intent is based on seeing yourself in a position you could continue doing what you're doing. So when you create a word around whatever you're making up in your mind of when you see yourself in a vision, you see yourself in a position where you could constantly do the thing that you see yourself manifesting from. Whatever gift or talent that you can see yourself manifesting and materializing from, taking that manifesting and materializing to make you be in a position where you could continue to do these things. Not being in a position where once you get these things, okay, it's over now. That's wrong. And whatever your gift and talent is ain't really a gift or talent. That's a monetary gain, a shortcut. You're in a using energy. So you're not really going to be manifesting situations where you're even enjoying what you're doing and shit like that. So those should already be correspondence and representations that you're already on the wrong path before you even get into what I'm talking about right now. But other than that, you already have things to let you know that you flunked out at the moment. Flinkity. But if you are on the right path and things of that nature, make sure the situation that you're in, right, this intent is based on you creating a situation where you can continue and you can make more time that you could be doing what you're doing. And taking less time having to participate with the world and get more out of the world instead of you having to use more time of the world just to get crumbs. Like a person who have to work 24 hours out of the day just to get something like $7 an hour or some shit like that, or $6 an hour, or $6 every 2 hours type shit. How they got people in Africa working 75 cents every 3 hours and shit to pick up some shit Elon Musk could get and Mark Zuckerberg could get rich off of in a matter of seconds. Bullshit. But look, check this out. Now, this is the negative intent. How your intent may manifest bullshit and shit that becomes out of your hands, right? So always make sure that your ground basis of your intent is seeing yourself in a position that you can continue doing things, not an intent based on proving something or proving something to someone else or using someone else. Anytime you have an intent that you get ready to express your gifts and talents and things of that nature, but the intent behind it is you proving something to someone else. I don't care if they hurt your feelings or not. If it's on that basis, and you might have a little bit, right? Because everybody go through shit and things of that nature. Y'all might have teachers who told y'all ain't gonna be shit or whatever, right? Use that as fuel. But if that's the main thing as far as the most energy on a percentage scale, that you're adding to your intent, you're failing. You're going to fail. Even if you do meet certain success, you're still going to meet some type of fork in the road where the person going to still be like, I told that person so. They just thought they was getting over. So always make sure that it's just small on a percentage level. And if you do got a little bit of it, just use it as fuel. But make sure you got more on a percentage level of whatever that you're doing as a goal is something you want to do anyway, regardless if you're trying to prove something to someone else or not, or regardless if you're, you know what I'm saying? Regardless. Now, in the other context too, if you're trying to use someone, if the intent in your mind isn't based on truly your goal, you got more on a percentage scale of you trying to use another person and things of that nature, you're going to fall short in that too. Whatever your goals is not going to manifest, and you might even manifest a scenario where the person that you was trying to use end up becoming an esoteric enemy where they end up secretly blocking opportunities from you in ways you may be unaware of. So